Member Bond. Here. Member Rock.
Everyone please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, may I have a motion to approve this evening's meeting agenda is presented. Second. Roll call please.
Member Inshaw.
Aye.
Member Driven.
Aye.
Member Sanchez.
Aye.
Member Miss Peterson. Aye. Member Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Member Bond. Aye. Member Rock.
Next, we have the approval of the draft minutes. May I have a motion to approve the draft minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of October 20th, 2025. So moved. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Next, we got several presentations, and we'll begin with board appreciation, followed by the tax levy, and we'll conclude with school improvement with Benjamin Evergreen.
All right, so this, for maybe you might not know this, but this is Board Member Appreciation Week. Board Member Appreciation Day is Friday. We're gonna celebrate all the day though. So you have some tokens of appreciation at your table that Dr. Fitzgerald and Mrs. Smith are gonna talk about in a little bit. But I just want to say board membership and board leadership in a school district is like one of the most American democracy things that exist. And it's a thankless job. So sometimes it's a really thankless job and it's really not worth the pay. And but I wanted to take time now, I think everyone here and all the students who helped make all these wonderful things want to thank you for your time, talent, and dedication. It's through good board governance that we have continuous improvement of schools, that we have stability in our communities, and that we protect our the key building, mortar investment in the community, but also the most precious thing in our community, which is our children. And that's under your good governance. So I appreciate you for that. With that being said, I'd like to pass it off to Dr. Fitzgerald to kind of explain a couple of the items that you have in front of you.
Sure, so we have some books from our library. These are actually new books, Caudle winning books or Caudle nominated books that will be going into our library. And inside you'll see a dedication to yourself for your service that we are very grateful for. And those will be in our library when the student checks out that book and they read that it's dedicated to you. They'll be very impressed. Know exactly who you are and at least a couple of things. And then the painting is something new from our new art teacher, Mrs. Cho. She sponsoring the art club, and so those students were did a project in art club and chose to dedicate their artwork to you. And their only designation was that middle school very different than elementary school, so they're like, as long as we don't have to come to the meeting to present, they will give that to you. And so hopefully that you appreciate that, and just a small token of our thanks for everything that you do for our district.
Thank you. It's incredibly kind. Very, very cool.
Yeah, and just in addition to that, we also have books dedicated to you for our Evergreen Library. They are a little shorter, so maybe you can, read through them and give them back to us if you so choose. But Mrs. Pearson does a really good job of trying to look at some award-winning books, but also kind of cater towards what service you have provided to our school and maybe what your family dynamic is and all of that. So please enjoy those. And we can't wait to have them checked out by students in the library. And then if you look around the room, we do have some amazing posters. That were also created by different clubs and students at Evergreen to thank you for the amazing work that you do for us in supporting everything that we do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, extremely kind, though. We very much appreciate it. We appreciate you all. Thank you.
And put a fine point, you take that art with you, that's to hang up in your office or anywhere. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Okay, now try to follow that one, tentative tax levy.
I think of complex. I think like.
School improvement plans.
Yeah.
Go school improvement, okay.
Yeah, I will more than happy with this.
So, yes, we're going. So we'd like to thank Board of Education for allowing us to present our school improvement plan. This year, Sarah, Mrs. Smith and I are doing this together. Because of our narrow focus this year on our school improvement plan is our IAR, Illinois Assessment of Readiness, ELA and math scores. That will change once we have our strategic plan in place. We will be expanding that based upon that. But for this year, that is the focus, and so we're going to together. See how that goes. Start off with our summative designation from the state. We are both commendable schools. In a little bit, we're going to explain why the performance and how the performance standards changed this year. Next year, they're changing how they make these designations. So we're not going to talk too much about this tonight.
Yes, so to start us off, we're gonna look at IR math proficiency at Evergreen as well as ELA proficiency. So if you take a look at this slide, we have our school summary, and then we also have where the state is. So if we're looking at, there are 4 designations for IAR this year. We are in an upcoming slide. The state has changed their grade level proficiency standards and their grade level section. So it used to be 5, now it's 4. We're going to talk about that in a following slide. But if we're looking at just this past year's data, we can look at our school summary where we had 62% of our students met proficiency. In grade 3, 71.6% in math, and then in grade 4, 50%. And we can compare that to the state, which is 38.5% of students in the state met proficiency in math, and then grade 3, 49.6%. So we were above that state designation, as well as in grade 4 in math, it was 42.4%, and we were at percent. And if we go to the next slide for ELA, similar graph. Our school, Evergreen, was 59%, or I would say the district. So like it was comparing, when I say Evergreen, it's because only 3rd and 4th grade take the IAR test at Evergreen, but we're comparative to the summary, which is kind of like our whole district. But that was 59%, and then 3rd grade, 62.6%. For proficiency in ELA, and then 4th grade 54.7. And if we compare that to state data, which was overall 53.1%, 3rd grade 47.3%, and 4th grade 51.2%, which after all of those numbers is to say that we were above the state threshold for proficiency. Some grade levels a little bit more so than others, but all in all above where the state is. Next.
There we go. So for Benjamin, IAR math proficiency, we did not make the proficiency, just being straightforward, that we were hoping that we would. We're going to talk a little bit later about how we're hoping to make those gains. But we were at, for a school, 46% for our meets and for our proficient and above proficiency. And we were above the state standard of 38.5%. Next slide. ELA proficiency, we continued our growth that we have made over the past few years. So we were actually at 72% for a school as proficient. We're above proficient compared to the 53% for the state. Highlighting one grade, this 8th grade really knocked it out of the park with 83% of 8th graders making proficiency or above proficiency. So we were very happy to see that.
So looking at We can go to the next one.
It's catching up.
Thank you. So we've referenced how the IAR performance levels have changed. This is a graphic that will help explain that a little bit. So if you look at the top where it says IAR, up until this school year, there have been 5 performance level designations where it was does not meet, partially met, approaching meets expectations, and then exceeds expectations. And then you can see ISA, the Illinois Assessment for Science Assessment, and then the SAT, all kind of had differing performance level descriptors. Now what the state has done is unified that. So all of these assessments that students are taking are unified in their performance level descriptors, where it's below proficient, approaching proficient, proficient, and above proficient. And the state went through this process of aligning these proficiency benchmarks to more closely align with college and career readiness expectations. The prior cut scores resulted in many students who were doing well in regards to like passing advanced classes, ACT, SAT, enrolling in college, but were still being labeled as not proficient. So there was kind of like a misrepresentation of how students were actually performing. And so the state wanted to standardize that and simplify those levels across multiple assessments, so it had more common language and hopefully is more reflective of what students are actually doing and performing in the classrooms versus just what one assessment is saying that they do. And then if you take a look at this graphic, if you look, it lists the old performance levels and then the new. So if you look, grades 3 through 8, 750 was that proficient mark. And now if you look at each grade level has a slightly different rating or score that says that they are proficient. So grade 3, you can see in ELA, instead of needing a 750 to be proficient, now it's a 735. And then it, slowly slides at the following grade level. So 4th grade, 737, 739, and so on. And then if you look at math, same thing, 750 used to be that proficiency score. Now in 3rd grade, if a student attains a 732, that is considered proficient, and then so on and so forth. So looking at Dr. Fitzgerald and I would say Dr. Fitzgerald did most of the legwork, so thank you. We took a look at where our students were meeting and exceeding according to the old performance levels. In 23-24, we had 46% of our students at math proficiency. And then we did the math of figuring out if we were using those same cut scores as before, where that would put us for this year. And you can see that our math performance did decline if we were using the old way of looking at proficiency scores. But with the new proficiency scores, which is our new baseline moving forward, we have proficient or above proficient 62% of our students in 3rd and 4th grade. And on that red line is where that state marker was. So well above the state in regards to math on IAR using the new proficiency standards. And then looking at ELA.
Going great, right?
Can I ask you a question? Well, how this is voted, just to buy him some time. Just so I'm just interpreting, from what I'm seeing is that like, it seems to be on par, and it goes both ways. With the lower level that does not meet, or the below and approaching, that seems to be on par or better than, but we're definitely exceeding in the proficient and above proficient categories from what I'm seeing in the 2 areas, like just in summary, right?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to
Yes.
see if I was interpreting those graphs correctly.
Now, one area like in math, seeing if we were using the old proficiency levels, obviously we want our numbers to go up every year instead of decline. But we are we are pleased with our like proficient and above proficient.
Yeah,
We
for
saw,
sure.
you know, good growth in those areas.
And it's also important to point out that,
We're
when you're
comparing-
comparing third and fourth,
Different.
last year to third and fourth
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
You are talking about a group of different kids,
Yeah.
too, some of them the same, some of them different, same with the middle school.
Is there a general sense of why they changed the proficiency metrics and rates?
Yeah, so basically they said that they wanted to make it more accurate compared to the college and career readiness standards. And also that Illinois had some of the highest standards out of all the states, where our cut scores were up at the top compared to other states. So those were the reasons.
Yeah, if I could just add I'll add like one thing to that, so, for years. So Illinois, about 10 years, longer, 10, 15 years ago, established what they had to, by federal law to get grant money, establish performance levels. And when they did that, they started at the high school level. They created an SAT cut score of 540 for both literacy and math. Which exceeds the college readiness benchmark. The college readiness benchmark is actually research-based. You meet the college readiness benchmark, you're supposed to have a 75% chance of being a C or better in that college course, whether it's English or math, and a 50% chance of being a B or better in that college course. So they superseded the research-based metric. What's even more interesting is that college readiness and literacy is a 480, and in math is a 530. But they said 540 for both. So the numbers never made sense. And so they've now taken this opportunity with the shift from SAT to ACT to make everything align. So now these more align with the percentiles that will reflect a student's ability to be college ready in an entry level college math class and college ready in an entry level college English class. So that was kind of the backstory that maybe people don't talk about, but it's real. And that is, so if you looked at, it's all the way through, it's third all the way through high school, what they adjusted.
But did they base it on research similar to the other numbers, or did they
Yeah.
just arbitrarily pick another?
No, they're using the college readiness benchmark to back to research, which they should have done to begin with, if I could.
And then this is our ELA proficiency, so using the old performance level standards meets and excused in 23-24. We had 39%, then in 24-25, 42% if we were to use those same qualifications. And now with our new proficient, above proficient benchmarks, as you can see, 59%, and then the state is at that 53.1. And again, like Dr. Fitzgerald said, we are comparing same test, but different students. So it's not truly apples to apples every year.
And then for Benjamin, I've talked about this previously, but we were at 45% at the 23-24 test. Comparing that to 24-25 with the same standards. Again, there's a drop. When we compare it to the new standards, we slightly improved 46%, but better than the 38.4. Again, we'll talk about some things that we can do for this being an area of opportunity for us for growth. And also at the end of the year, I want to point out that we will also be starting the committee for our math curriculum resource adoption that will take place next year, which is similar to what we did a few years ago. We did ELA, we did last year with science. So hoping that can help us also. And then in ELA, 23-24, 63, state is 63%, 24-25. And then both involved with the new proficient and plus proficient, we're at 72%. Where the state standard is at 53.1. Okay, so now we're going to talk about student growth percentile. And this is something that's on the, when you look at the Illinois State report card, when you look at your individual student report, you're going to see the proficiency, but you're also going to see the SGP. And basically, this describes how a student group compared to their academic peers who had the same scale score. So I'm trying to make this as simple as possible with an example. You have to have a previous IAR score to get an SGP, so no third grader is gonna have an SGP on their school. So let's say that a student got a 735 scale score on the ELA test. So as a third grader, then as a fourth grader, every single student that got a 735, they are being compared to. So let's say that the student grew to a 750. We would be very happy as a district for the growth that they made individually within their proficiency, because that would show. But if everybody else, or a lot of students that got the 735, he did in third grade, got a 755, then his SGP, that individual student's SGP would be lower because they didn't grow as much as their peers. If most of his peers got a 740, if he got a 750, then his student growth percentile is going to be up. So it's not how much a student grew, it's how much they grew compared to their peers. We'd be very happy with his growth, no matter what his peers' growth was. But that just shows how it's gonna catch up in that big slide. That slide.
I have one question about that. Is it in comparison then to the students within our school district or within the state? Okay.
Yeah. And then this is just a guide to help you interpret it. So basically lower SCPs of 40 or lower, meaning that they're not catching up to their peers. And this is from the state website. So the average they have is between 40 and 60. That means that they're maintaining, and 60 and above, they're making ground, they're catching up to their academic peers. And then quickly, this is just our math SGP as a district. You round up, we're at 52% compared to the state at 50%, so we're slightly above different grade levels. The fifth grade, who proficiency wise had some of the lowest math proficiency scores, has an SGP that's higher than the other grades. You know, and what that means exactly, I'm not even sure, but basically, more students grew in that than their peers did, but they didn't reach some performance standards that they needed to for our actual scores, but they did have a lot of growth individually.
But that is hopeful that they'll continue to show that growth.
Right. It could also mean that that content area from fifth grade is also a top, but. Conspiracy theory. And then ELA, we're at 53.4%, with the states at 50%. Again, different grade levels have different areas of growth compared to state.
Dr. Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
I hope this makes sense in my head, it does.
Sure.
Is there a way, instead of comparing like apples to oranges every single time, like last year's group to this year's group, is there ever a way of comparing like class of 2033, their students' journey compared to the
Yes.
states?
So that's what, that's what I have done previously with the old scores. There would be a slide in there that would show third grade compared to fourth grade compared to fifth grade. Which is the cohort now, it's minus a couple students moving out or a couple
Yeah.
students moving in. The reason we can't do that this year is because of the new performance standards. That's why we threw in what the old standards would have been as a school. And then after the slide, we have individual grade level data that's not part of the presentation. But we threw those slides in there that you can see some of that, but we'll be able to show that from now on, because the new performance standards, that's a baseline data. And the reason they were able to continue with the SGP this year is because the SGP is based on a scale score. It doesn't matter what the performance was, your scale score is still your scale score, so they can still show that SGP growth.
So with all of this information, what are we doing with it? So Evergreen has targeted ELA and math in regards to our school improvement plan for some targeted really growth in these areas while using the IAR. We have a goal, as you can see on this slide, of increasing from our 59% to a 62% next year. Again, keeping in mind that we are comparing different student groups. So we'll be comparing our current third graders taking the test for the first time with our current fourth graders. And that's how we get our SGP for the fourth grade, because they've already taken the test. And what we are going to do to help these improvements, quite a few of these things are already like daily practices for Evergreen. But we're just being a little bit more strategic and a little bit more targeted in how we're approaching things. We have taken a great deal of time looking at our STAR assessments across third and fourth grade, especially with IAR. This year, we're kind of targeting how we can use our STAR assessments across the board, K through 4, and how that impact can help with our IAR scores, because it really does start the first day of kindergarten. So there are two specifics reports in STAR that we're really going to look at. It's the instructional planning report and the mastery report. Both of those, one puts together like a plan for a classroom teacher on specific areas that her or his or her class really maybe underperformed on or overperformed on, to target some of that grade level tier 1 instruction for those areas, and then also using those reports for some targeted instruction in target time. Also looking at the mastery reports, which helps to identify, again, which skills are considered mastered by STAR assessment, and they do align with IAR, and they have done that alignment now with the new proficiency grade level benchmarks. Third and fourth grade, because they are the grade levels that take the test at Evergreen, there is an IAR blueprint which helps to determine the high priority standards. So it kind of like breaks down, 45% of the IAR questions were on informational text. So our third and fourth grade teachers and the specialist teams are going to look at those to make sure, okay, is our tier 1 instruction, is our small group instruction, are we having kids have the opportunity to read informational text more so than literary text, or vice versa, to help align what our tier 1 and tier 2 instruction is based on that blueprint. Also looking at how we can more intentionally teach and reinforce academic vocabulary and IAR sort of command words. Like we talk a lot with students about inferencing and analyzing and evidence, but taking it a step further of really dissecting what that means when a student is asked that question, and really kind of like slowing down that instruction in regards to how do you know what this question is asking? And let's slow down and go through all of the parts instead of just, we know what analyze is, we do that. Oh, summarize, yeah, but let's break it down a little bit more. And then using our assessment data to determine teaching skills to target. So we provide a lot of opportunities for teachers to analyze and assess how students are learning in the classroom. We're putting together some more intentional conversations during our collaboration meetings of, okay, we just gave a math chapter test. Let's look at an item analysis. Let's look at every question. How many students in the grade level, performed well on this question? How many did not? Do we need to reteach this concept next week? And then there's a key aspect of students and their accountability for these tests and taking them seriously. So we are going to implement conferencing with students before IAR individually, as well as STAR tests, to kind of go over here's where your score was, what are some things that you're going to really try to target during the test. And it might just be, I'm going to do my best, or I'm going to try not to look at the ceiling 7 times and look at the test a little bit more, and set some personal goals and have those conversations with students. And then we'll do very similar things with math. We have some really, really great structures in place for ELA and tier 2 instruction. Looking at our math scores as being lower than our ELA scores, we're going to be doing similar things, looking at those STAR instructional reports and mastery reports, explicitly teaching and reinforcing those math vocabulary words of justify, determine, estimate, interpret. There's also a writing component to the math assessment, so doing some more practice with that. Looking at that IAR math blueprint to make sure, okay, if geometry is 25% of the test, and we're typically not testing or teaching geometry until the end of March, what are we going to do to help accommodate for that? Are we going to do some warm-ups at the beginning of the day that are targeting geometry skills? So we are in the midst of all of those conversations right now. Analyzing our classroom assessment data to make sure that those students who maybe haven't shown mastery of a skill are getting a second chance and a reteaching of that. And then also conferencing with students to help them know where they're performing and how they can set goals for themselves. And then some just continuing areas of focus, very similar to some things that we've been doing for the last several years. Our SOAR expectations is ongoing. I've highlighted areas of how we're going to take all of these to kind of like the next level this year. Our morning meetings, we still have our champs going strong. We just had a second PD with SACIT on our champs this past month as well. And then looking at, thank you, our multi-tiered systems of support, expanding our staff understanding of ADHD, ADD, multilingual learner strategies, and student engagement. We're doing some PD opportunities with that this year. Our new science curriculum resource is new, so making sure that teachers feel confident in that spoken sequence and that instruction. And continued area is also our collaboration meetings. So our team meetings every week on Monday, teams meet together to discuss student data and student growth. And so we're going to continue that with some emphasis, a little bit more on our IAR data and performance, but then also all of the other things that I mentioned from ELA and math.
Okay, for Benjamin, our goal is to move up 3%. We're going to use STAR instructional planning class report and use focus skills for both regular view and implementation of new instruction. And what that means is every class can run this class instructional support, and it gives a list of focus skills. As an example, it could say, how does the narrator point of view view the story? It's a skill that class in particular, according to their STAR report, needs to focus on. Maybe for math, it's graph a point in the first quadrant, or find volume of prism by multiplying the edges. And then, because this is not just, even though our school improvement plan is math and ELA, it doesn't mean that it's only a math and ELA problem. So for the whole school, we're going to share those planning reports with science and social studies. There's often overlap you can find. To reinforce those skills, so it's everyone has some buy-in to improving these scores. And then we have individual reports that can also be run besides the class reports, the individual report for those students. So I just took a student who was in the below proficient and then came up with things like use textual details to draw simple conclusions. Well, maybe that could go to a social studies teacher, maybe they focus on that. Explain key details to support main ideas. Maybe the kids working with the reading specialist, they can put that in their toolbox. Find the, and Gerald, better handwriting coach, rectangles. Oh, find the area for rectangle, the side handling. The art type math teacher could possibly add that to the thing. So just so it's, it's just not the math teacher, the ELA teacher, that everybody breaking things down. We're also going to use, on the state website, you can find detailed performance level descriptors. They're supposed to bridge the state assessment to actually what happens in the class. So in those areas, you'll see like what a student would be doing in a certain area if they were below. So maybe they're able to name the characters in a story. But at the highest level, they're able to analyze the character's choice, explain point of view. So it just gives kind of like a better roadmap for the teachers, so a reminder. And then we'll also use the evidence blueprints that Sarah had mentioned. So, fifth grade, 32% of the test is on writing. And 14% on vocabulary. So knowing that, making sure teachers know that, so that they're in focus, which already should be aligned, I should say, with our resources. That's the reason I did that. One of the reasons. So that should be the case. For math, again, moving from hopefully from 46 to 49%. Everything here is the same except for the first bullet point, which is to expand the split class model to include two seventh grade and one 8th grade section. I've talked about this previously, just as a reminder. A couple of years ago, we split one 7th grade class. We took, let's say, the 26 kids and we split it into groups of 13. And both Mrs. Aaron's and Mrs. Moore worked with those kids because I had an extra period for Mrs. Moore to play around with. And then last year, we dropped one of our RTI math classes, which is one of our tier 2 supports where kids could go into a class and get individual help so that we could split 2 7th grade classes. Can't prove that it helped, but 7th grade math moved up 8% even when you were looking at the old standards to standards, and 15% when you're looking from the old proficiency to the new proficiency standards. So we expanded it again this year by taking away another RTI math class. So we now have RTI math classes by 2 teachers. And we have these split classes. I've got 2 7th grade and 1 8th grade section that are split. It gives more individual attention. It gives more one-on-one time for students and the math teacher, smaller class size, all that stuff. So we're hoping, I feel that is better use of our teachers than the RTI math classes, which are still valuable, but very hard to schedule students in the right spot.
Is that kind of like you're adding like an interventionist based on just open class
Yeah,
time with scheduling or something like that?
well, the first one was because we had a class with Miss Moore, had a class period that I could play with.
Okay.
The second 2 years where we were actually dropping, we had 4 RTI math sections. Now we only have 2,
Okay.
but I think it's more valuable that they're with the 13 kids than possibly scheduling 3 kids for them to be with. So,
Dr. Fitzgerald, quick question on that, can you just explain what grade levels have the split classes, is it just 7th and 8th?
so 2 7th grade this year and 1 8th grade, and our 5th and 6th grade teachers are saying, how can we do this?
Oh, yeah, that's what, okay,
But it's a little bit more difficult. So I can create one, if we drop both the RTI math classes and the 5th, 6th grade teacher teach. It's not limited to 5th, 6th grade students, like Mr. Baker has a first period RTI math class, they could have a math student at any grade level as long as it fits within their schedule. So if we drop both of those, I could add one more split class at 1 grade level. It's a schedule thing, but
then for the RTI, do we have to have those, is that like a
No,
part of?
it was an intervention that we were using to try to help
Okay,
improve our scores. I just think that this is more valuable.
no, just great, and then I have one more follow-up to that, do the students get to choose if they want to participate in the RTI, or no, that's part of their schedule, like?
So the split classroom model, we
Yeah.
just do it.
Right.
So we're just both 7th grade sections that are not the advanced section
Mhm.
are split. We only have 3 sections, so the 2 that are not the advanced are already split. And then in 8th grade, we designated 1 and split that based on need and schedule.
Okay. But then for like the.
So that's RTI, that's something that we do through our MTSS process. We identify and we try to schedule it, and then we ask the parent, or we send notification to the parent.
Yeah.
Parent could refuse it if they
Okay.
wanted to, but it's helpful, so.
Just curious, yeah, thank you.
It also has to take the place of another class. That's the other advantage of the split model. So if you have an RTI math class, you're giving up either a special like art, or you're giving up a social studies, depending on where we can schedule, where we can find the time, so. Yeah. And then, next slide. Continuing areas of focus, you know your student data, that's the SDL data that we do. Where we focus on things that are happening with students outside of the grades. Also that they have a trusted adult. Attendance and tardy data, we continue to fine tune with Mrs. Colburn, sending meeting weekly and sending out letters to parents and communication. Fish slip and behavioral data, that's 2 sides to the same point. Motivate and incentivize, and then also track the behavioral data that we have and try to work on that. MTSS, as just mentioned, we have our PST team that we meet every Thursday, and then our grade level data meetings where the PST team goes to the grade levels. That happens about once every 6 weeks, and we look at these different interventions and support and see what we need to do. And then 5th and 6th grade have our new science curriculum resource, just like our K-4. And so we have, you'll see in our my teaching report a little bit, that we have level 2 training coming up on that in November 14th. And then finally, the 5 essentials review for continued improvement. That's something that we've always took seriously and tried to break down that data. last year, we did the teacher observation piece that really helped improve one area. This year I saw there's something like write a math problem. Have you ever written a math problem for another student to solve? So again, it's probably good practice for us to do, and the students are saying, no, we don't. And so, that's just an example of something. I think okay. Questions?
You.
I just wanted to say, I appreciate you two collaborating on this presentation and having the cohesiveness of it, really, really helpful in getting us, on target, and I feel like you guys have a lot of things set in place that you plan on doing, can't wait to see what happens, I mean, I know, yeah, I are, that's you, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're on. Tax levy.
Jim Rogers, thank you so much. And introduce tentative tax levy. It is a pleasure to give this to you right now. Before we get into the tentative tax levy, there's a couple of legislative things we have to address first. First one is Public Act 1020895. This has to do with fund balances. And it was silly flag.
Load up all those giant fund balances, there's how that's why. Wow.
A lot of decimal points and place values. There we go. I'm looking at the changes. So this is just our starting fund balance in July, taking it to what we have here into October. Second, legislative requirement that we must meet is for Public Act 103-039. Essentially, quite simply, is we have these three funds: education fund, O&M fund, transportation fund. The district cannot carry a combined balance for 2.5% times the 3-year average of the expenditures. So I provided two different charts. The first one is month ending October 31st, which shows that today we would be 75% of those expenditures, well underneath the 250% threshold. But there is no specific date as to when we are to display these. So I put in the year ending audited fund balance too. So as that spins up, we'll see the year end, and the differences you'll see when it's 60% versus 75. All goes into when we receive our property taxes. So we have 60%. So because we have a scenario now where we're in September disbursements, we're much higher than where we finished. So long story short, they're well below the 250%, but we are above our cash on hand policy, just on the 80. And we finished using the 215, and right now we're sitting at 318 days cash on hand. The last month is the hot flat mark. That's September property tax disbursements. We'll be whittling that down all the way to May. So now for the tentative tax. And as we mentioned at the last board meeting, there are two primary variables that will determine what I am proposing. And that is the CPI as well as new construction. So this year's levy CPI is 2.9, which means we can ask for 2.9% more than we had the previous year's extension. Or 5%, whichever is less, 2.9 is fly. But what's outside of that is new construction. So last year, if you remember, we had a new construction estimate, brought it to a point that we would have 5% for treatment taxation. But because we are so low this year at 2.9% CPI, we really have to move our new construction estimate to allow us to have that treatment taxation. So I am recommending a $7.5 billion new construction estimate. We'll get there, probably not. However, we do not want to be in jeopardy in perhaps for the app. So if you look here, for every $100,000 new property tax value, it's approximately $3,975 in revenue. Now, if we have the main freight property comes in, it's $1 million, and you're still below 5%, it's fine. However, let's say it comes in at 6.7. We would not be able to realize that if we do not have true taxes yet. So to be safe, I'd like to bring it to 7.5, so we have the 5.16. The good news is we'll know exactly what the tax is before the final levy, but we're just kind of hedging against that. It's still at the bubble size, so the bubble size is 20 days out. So this just puts us in, we're managing risk with taxation. And then we have two columns here, my recommendations. In the light blue column is just a standard 2.9% over what we levied or extended last year. But the green column is where I'm recommending we bring it based on a couple of variables. First variable is IMRF. We're still sitting in a ratio high enough that we do not need to levy any money into IMRF condition. Reallocate that towards any capital. Reallocate that to any funds. Same with Social Security, smaller. 3 years ago, we were levying around $286,000. We're at a spot now where we can just maintain where we are for what I'm projecting next year's expenditures for people. And we are levying into working cash recommendation because we had to abate last year to issue the bonds value, the full value. So we brought our working cash balances down, so my recommendation will start to supplement that. Any questions as far as the tentative tax levy? Good news is we will have our construction actuals. December, which is the spot where it's going to be.
Five under 11 IMRF, it looks like we'll probably be below the Miller ratio next year then. Sure, like.
IMRF is still going to be above that ratio, however, because we have not levied any money to that fund, there's no potential challenge. So we can still be high, it's still a little bit now, but that's just the way that but no fault of our own, it's just we built that up because the IMRF values were this time. That concludes the tentative tax levy presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next one, I'll do administrative reports. Dr. Mr. you know.
Thank you again for allowing me to send the learning and teaching report. It's pretty short this month, but we have professional development. We have our Institute Day on November 14th. That's this Friday. We will all be at Evergreen. And we have our K-5 teachers completing phase 2 of the SABIS science training. This would include customizing some of the digital platform, working on some quests and labs to promote problem-based learning. And that's differentiation. It's being led by one of the educational consultants from SABIS, and we'll be all together. We also have Dr. Salmon, who's raised for an EL presenter, Mallory Post-Dussel, to present benefit staff on EL for language-rich classrooms. And then in the second half of the day, because most of the first half is almost all Evergreen plus 5th, 6th grade teachers, and then it switches, and then they'll have a little bit shorter version of that EL presentation. And then Benjamin staff will come back to Benjamin, and we will have a Magic School presentation by Mr. Christopher and Mrs. Anthony. And then I'm also gonna have a staff learning meeting where I go with my staff, where I just went over with you for our school improvement plan. Dr. McGill, Mrs. Smith and I continued our learning walks. Second grade, middle school, PE and Spanish, fifth grade, first grade, and Evergreen Specials, which also ended up being first grade, so we got to see them in two different environments in our classroom and in their specials. It's a lot of fun. And Dr. Felix has arranged for a health clinic on that same Institute Day. They'll be located at Evergreen as well. Nice service that we have for our staff. Data preparation, Mrs. Smith and I have spent a lot of time presenting or getting ready for the presentation we saw this evening, as well as starting to get ready for our data presentation for the strategic plan coming up. And so looking at different sources of data, comparison groups. Yeah, so that was my report for this evening.
Thank you. Back to you.
Back to us. Yes, for business and operations report for October, briefly in operations, Mr. Kasperzak has scheduled. Some work to be completed during the Thanksgiving break, some items, but the plans for the summer. You probably to get to it just because teachers coming in. So which is good. For the technology report, two things I wanted to, one, I'd like to get some feedback on, the second one is just. First part of the report is, Mr. Martin has done an analysis of our cell phone usage here. He's found a way to, we get, better plans, but it'll be a considerable savings. To fully, move on over. The second thing Mr. Martin had done, it worked with the building secretaries on the new process for scheduling teacher conferences. So I was interested if anybody had any feedback. That seemed more efficient, such a great change, and you didn't notice.
It was fine on my end as a parent, it was nice, it was a little confusing. Because we got a letter like a week or 2 weeks beforehand saying like sign up for this, and then all of a sudden we got a letter the week of sign up, and it was like, you may have already gotten this letter. I'm like, oh, did I get it? And actually so happened that I already filled it out and everything. I don't know, phew, but it was a little confusing on that part, but scheduling wise, it was really nice because it listed all of the teachers, like you have to like search through, like last year, like on Power Schools, like having to search through and everything. It was seamless on my end as a parent. User wise too, it was easy to do right on my phone. I didn't have to like pull up the laptop to make a big decision or something.
Yeah, the same with Bridget, like I got the letter and then like the login wasn't working at first or something, but then it was like another email that was sent out, but it scheduled fine, like I found that to be much more seamless. And then we got reminders, which I was like, that's probably key for a lot of parents. Cause I know with the way we did it before, there just weren't, we had to write it down, and it was in, I mean. You do that, but the reminders were key, and I just like having it on there, so I really like this approach much better. As a parent, yeah.
Yeah, the reminders are still, because they're both schools are actually included on, like, both Benjamin and Evergreens.
So it's
Email reminders were, yeah, that was nice. I think the login was just a little, it said you had to like wait for a text or wait for an email to log in, and I never got it, so I just did it anyway. It was able to allow me to log in. So. But outside of that initial glitch, the schedule was fine.
How did the secretary say it went? I don't know, I think Benjamin had one phone call that day.
Yeah, we ran into some first time viewing and some tech problems right at the beginning, which is probably what you're speaking to.
Yeah.
But after that, we're sweating a little bit the day before, but it improved.
Yeah.
So
It'll be interesting to see too, if you get a better parent turnout
I
with.
can tell you Tuesday, we definitely, or Thursday, I noticed a very heavy parent response.
Just one follow-up, from your end, Dr. Felix, I think we were all waiting for 7 o'clock to come. Wasn't that kickoff time?
for tonight.
No.
It was 7:15.
Start registering for?
Yeah, so, I mean, is there capacity, does the system crash because everybody's waiting for 7 o'clock and trying to get those?
I know Mr. Barnes is probably watching us right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say that our network is beyond paper. thing.
I'm logging on at 7, the concert tickets.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
So after. Easy, I was like, oh, wait, this was too easy. I don't have it.
Don's gonna even go to Sears and stay in the line. For the business and operations report, get it very briefly, I included, this monthly spotlight for data based on the school report cards that came in. At per pupil spending, can be sometimes misleading when you look at, we're spending X amount of dollars per student. But you must back out the capital expenditures, back out really what we're spending in the classroom. The number almost goes into half. So we're getting great results from spending. In comparison, relatively speaking. Small amount of money. That classroom. Per pupil. The second part of that report is our monthly safety committee met last month, and we analyzed the I love you guys standard response protocols, which essentially just bringing that language of lockdown, soft lockdown, hold in place, teach in place, bringing it to a more unified language. We were very happy to look at our manuals and said this is really in line with what we're trying to do, so we don't have to do a lot of changes. The reason why we're analyzing it as a two-page common safety network is really recommending that schools do-page make that change. We actually have our next meeting Wednesday morning. Question will to the minister, say this will be there. Back to our members. Questions on the reports?
It's amazing how small the company I love you guys is and how widely it is doing that statewide. It's like, there's only a couple people that work there, like, last I called them.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's still, they're still like the people that originated the company, are those answering the phones and doing everything, but it's an awesome program. So that's good.
I went to the presentation over the summer and it was the guy that happened to, the dad that
Yeah.
started the company. He was the
Yeah.
one giving the presentation. He said this twice. So. Yeah, all the time across the country.
The person answering the phone here was a parent one. Yeah. Jim, so, things lost on.
Okay.
As you said.
Model. So, short report this time. Of course, I have to give a brief update on strategic planning. So we're, getting ready, coming up now. It seemed like it was forever, but it started for plenty of time. Now it's a month. So December 4th is the orientation, and it'll be kind of a digital evening meeting, and then our first whole day, retreat day is December 9th. A lot of work is going into this first day, because we really got to get the data right. And make sure that we can give an accurate picture of where the district is at in a variety of ways. In a digestible format that's, short, but also allows time, but also allows breadth to be able to see exactly where we're at in context of other schools and districts. So we really spent a lot of time on that. I'm grateful for the entire administrative team and the work and effort that they put into that. I just want to remind everyone, teachers, community, everyone, that all of the agendas, the PowerPoint slides, anything that the committee is asked to read beforehand, it will be, it's all gonna be posted online on that webpage. So that's gonna be kind of our repository for everything strategic planning. So fully transparent, everybody can go and see everything there. I also want to hit on something really great that we're doing. The Benjamin community is supporting the neighborhood food pantries. That's actually the name. It's the neighborhood food pantries. There's a local one I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I got a chance to go visit them last week. And they're really looking for donations of non-perishable items. They have perishable donations. They have kind of their regulars that donate perishable things, but those non-perishable items are things that they're looking for. So during these parent-teacher conferences, we're just encouraging everyone to drop off anything that they can. And then they're gonna coordinate for a pickup that Friday, this Friday. It's Friday, it's happening already. Having these three parent-teacher conferences. So it's great to hear that attendance seems to be up kind of anecdotally. We'll take a look at some of those results when it's all said and done. These are really great opportunities, right, to be able to get one-on-one with your teachers. So we hope that all parents take advantage of that. We gotta also highlight the school board appreciation week again. this is it. School board members, you don't get thanked enough. You won't get thanked for the rest of the year, so thank you. Just soak it in now. A lot of hard work.
Like the.
This, okay, that's good. Make sure you make a note of it. I also want to highlight a few of the upcoming GBS parent series. We have Nourishing the Modern Brain, the Food Mood Connection on November 18th. The School Parent Partnership, Tackling Tough Topics, Attendance, Sleeping Grade, Behavior, and More. That's on November 24th. And then Shift Managing Your Emotions So They Don't Manage You. That's on December 2nd. And then I forgot it last meeting. I remember, actually, I solely remembered this board meeting. So each of you can take this home with you. This is the brochure for all the GPS series events. They really do a nice job of putting all the authors and all the books and everything on there. When you come in the main office, Gilda Ross gave us a couple dozen books from these various authors. If you see what you want to borrow, take it, and read it, enjoy. A lot of these are also recorded on their YouTube page. So it's a really good resource for our community. It really is. And after each one of these, there's a Q&A session. So you can be a part of this. You can ask these authors questions. It's really a great opportunity for our families and for everyone, for parents, for grandparents, for community, variety of topics. I've been highlighting topics that most relate to us and the Benjamin community, but there's a variety of topics on throughout the entire year. So that concludes messages. Otherwise, questions that you have to answer.
Thank you very much. Next round of public comments. Then we'll consider who card public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any one board member wish to remove any items from the consent agenda for some consideration? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second. Roll call please.
Member Armstrong.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Sharpnet.
Aye.
Member Miss Peterson. Aye. Member Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Member Valencia.
Aye.
Member.
All right, so sorry, I did miss one. Does any board member have any committees that I didn't like to share?
Well, I can do the PTA.
I'd love to, yeah, I know, we just had.
And there's been so many activities this report may even be longer than. McGill's. All of these things in the review are on the PTA website. And easiest way is to go to bendis25.org. Go to the search box and say PTA and you'll find all of this, but just a quick review, October 22nd, we had this out in Sunny Acres. 86 wristbands were sold. So that's usually for the kids, the adults did not have to buy a wristband. We estimate about 125 people attended on that show day. Just last Friday, we had open gym night. As I mentioned when I arrived today, it was probably 200 people. It is the largest open gym night I think we've ever had. So next year, or there in the spring, we'll do this again in the spring and May. We'll ask for maybe more adult volunteers to circulate in the gym to make sure everybody's safe. All the kids are safe. So, we distributed like 130 ice cream treats. So, and that was all complimentary by PTA. So maybe some kids got 2, but actually most of about 30 kids. Butter braids. They're selling butter braids. I see the deadline is extended till tomorrow. So, and the pickup is Thursday the 13th. That's a fundraiser, so but it's always an enjoyable treat. Next Monday, the 17th, in this room will be the PTA's bi-monthly meeting. So if you pass the word, always appreciate volunteers. Nice. Old members as well as new members, just come on and enjoy the fun. And then the 18th. Next Tuesday, a week from Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, is Chef's Night Out. This time at Fozzie's Bar and Grill on Lee's Road. Be from 6 to 9. It's a fundraiser, but it's more intended to be a community builder. Come in, have dinner, get to know your fellow Benjamin parents, right? Benjamin parents.
Does the district get like proceeds then too, that they donate back or anything? like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, so it's 8%. What?
20%.
Is it 20%?
Yeah, no, right.
20%. So we're looking for a good turnout there. Next ice cream days will be the 19th at Evergreen and the 20th at Benjamin. Can I ask how's that going since we've
It's going good.
increased the prices?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to affect the kid's wallet. Parents, it was still divided
They still
up
love
the
it.
money. And they were all faked out because they were convinced that last Thursday was
Yeah, we
Ice cream treat.
somehow there's only one this month.
yeah, they just know it's always on pancake and sausage day, so.
As
I was convinced and they're now that, you know, it's building up towards this 20. They expect a very big turn.
And the 19th is a Wednesday, it's always pizza day, so pizza and ice cream is a favorite. I think pizza is one of the more popular days.
It is
So
consistently.
you wait till all the kids get seated, whether they're bringing their lunch or getting their pizza before we serve the ice cream. We probably distribute 320 servings of ice cream. And kids are now asking, well, if my parents will be signing me up, can I bring a doll? Can I get a second lunch? Oh my God.
That's why they're not eating the best.
You don't have to pay for the repercussions.
Sometimes Wednesdays are pretty noisy. Come join us. Okay, this is exciting. The 24th, I know it's during the break, it's a Monday. But the PTA is hosting a kindergarten parent meet and greet. It's a casual gathering. It's gonna be at Camelia's Cakes Bakery in West Chicago. So this is gonna be something new we're gonna try and how do you get if you're new to the district and your oldest is in kindergarten, how do you get to know all of these things, right? So this is kind of reach out for that. And finally, Bazaar is still set for Saturday, December 2nd. And here's some good things are coming. I think we'll know more next Monday at the PTA meeting. So if you're interested, come on and join us.
I think it's December, I only know because it's a chess tournament, it's December 6th.
It's the Friday. Yeah, yeah,
5th is the Friday, 6th is the Saturday,
right. Oh, it's 6. Okay.
I think so.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the bazaar is the
13. I have this.
Correct, there you go. I know the chess tournaments.
Sorry.
That's right. I just looked at the polls and talked about that, and there was a conflict with the chess tournament.
Yeah.
So, one more shout out. So, as you know, I'm on the Citizen of the Year Committee, Carroll Stream Citizen of the Year Committee. I've updated the contact list. So you should be getting an email packet of, how someone's nominated. Please share that with everybody in the community. It's open to, residents of Carroll Stream that have done community service. Or a non-resident, because, our fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Barrett Orcott was a winner last year. In the spring, she got a judge's award, so. If you have any questions, please let me know. Trying to spread the word. When is the year? What did I say? It's in March. It's the first Saturday of March. So always a good time. And one more thing, looking forward to, and you are too, Wednesday. What are we doing Wednesday? Junior achievement.
Yeah.
So that'll be a couple of hours in the morning, right? 9:11. Looking forward to that.
8:45.
8:45, starting at
Today.
I got a 50-pound bag of material. It wasn't that heavy, it was pretty heavy though, so. Looking forward to that, thank you. And.
Hey, Don, thanks for keeping us in the loop. I mean, that's been the biggest area we've missed. It's like the PTA and board and just knowing what's going on. So really appreciate that.
Welcome.
Does anybody else have anything they intended, maybe or otherwise?
I didn't attend.
ASB dinner.
Oh, yeah, it's right. Yeah, the dinner, yeah. The superintendent and I attended the fall dinner for the IASB. And we heard a speaker who spoke on how to become a better school board member. And the same talk is going to be Friday at 10:30, I believe. Is what it was in the memo. So if you have a chance, this guy has been around 25 or 30 years, and he's written a book on it, which you can purchase, I'm sure you can get it, but it basically kind of walks through how to become a better school board member. So, go ahead.
I was just gonna echo those sentiments. It was a engaging presentation and he's seen a lot, so he has a lot of anecdotes and nuggets, stories that take that Juniper here.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. Yeah, he's one of the better speakers. It's in the morning, so you probably won't fall asleep.
So this is what, on Friday at the ISBA conference?
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend it. I've heard him over the years several times, and each time he's changed it a little bit, and I think it's worthwhile. If you're down there on Friday. Is there a general assembly meeting Friday morning? At 8 o'clock or 8:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right around the corner.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense. So sorry for missing that. Did we approve the consent agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have no action items after consent agenda. Now we're on public comments for non-agenda items. Seeing none. We'll move on to discussion items. There have not been any communication between the board and the public. Dr. Gillens, or any others? Okay. Having none, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, then the twenty-five board of ed and each one. So moved. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. All right,